I've got breaking news here. The latest edition of the JP poll has been released. Here it is, right here. The JP poll is not the playoff rankings. The JP poll is not the AP poll. The JP poll is not really even a poll, but I'm not changing the name because it's really catchy and it sounds good. The JP poll is just a power rating. We take this model here and we ask the model to do the same thing that FanDuel would do, and that is stack teams based on neutral field favorability. And it means nothing more than that. You're going to find in the top 20, I have a couple of teams that are barely above 500, but it doesn't matter because the model would favor them against a bunch of teams below them. This is supposed to be nothing more than a reference tool. It's not meant to project on anything other than project who would be favored against who. So let's go. Number 1 through 5. We got the same number 1 team we had last week. Ohio State, the model would still favor against any team in the country. Oregon's number 2. As of now, we are projecting number 1 versus number 2 in the Big Ten championship game. So there you go on that. Georgia is number 3. Texas is number 4. Notre Dame is number 5. And I got a little added just bonus nugget here for you. Whew, I can't believe this. There is, according to the model, there's only a 5.75 point gap between number 1 and number 5. So what that means is, if Ohio State played Notre Dame tomorrow in, who knows, Kansas City, whatever, Ohio State, according to the model, would be a 5.75 point favorite. So I think a lot of you would bet on that, and that's fine, but that's what the model thinks. Penn State is number 6. They're up 2 spots. Ole Miss is down to 7. Now, this is the first part where I have to stop and remind you, this is not a ranking. Ole Miss is not in my top 10 if I'm on the playoff committee. But Ole Miss still, in terms of neutral field favorability, is not going to drop all that much if we had them all the way up inside the top 5 last week and they lost because of turnover. They lost because of lack of red zone execution. This is not excuse making. It's saying that those are not predictive elements. In other words, if we play the game again, those aren't things that are disproportionately likely to happen again. So I always have to qualify this because I'm just envisioning the comment section. The people who run their mouth the most about this never listen to the explanation anyway, so why do I waste my time? Good question. Let's move on. Alabama's number 8. I think Alabama's a little bit too high, honestly. I think the model is still a little too high on Alabama because I think the talent profile that's baked in for that team still has it slightly higher than they should be. Tennessee's number 9. Clemson is number 10. Okay, now that's a team that I think is overrated according to the model. Bama and Clemson, I think, both are higher than they should be, but I understand why they're there. So, again, model's telling you it would favor Clemson against any team in the ACC. Miami and SMU, they would favor Clemson against both of them if they played on a neutral field. As of now, it doesn't look like Clemson will get that opportunity. That's up to the number 11 team. Number 11 is Miami. Number 12 is South Carolina. I said it's up to number 11 because if Miami loses to Syracuse, then we may see Clemson in the ACC championship game. South Carolina's at number 12. SMU's at 13. Indiana's at 14. Think about that. Not only are SMU and Indiana ranked high, but there are a lot of teams. BYU has been a perfect example of a team that's been ranked high, but we never had them power rated high. But there's a lot of meat on the bone with SMU and Indiana. Even after they lost a game, we didn't drop Indiana that far. We dropped them to 14. It's just remarkable that those teams could be that high. Tulane's 15. Tulane, I would favor by 7 against Boise State if they played neutral field right now. Tulane is definitively the best G5 team in the country, but they may not get the G5 nod. They got to win. They got to beat Memphis. They got to win the AAC championship game. If they do that, I'm telling you, if I'm a committee member, that'd be my G5 team. But it looks like Boise would be the G5 team as of now if they win out. Iowa State, I've got at 16, and even though they're down 2 spots, we would have them as the best team in the Big 12 right now on paper, like neutral field, stuff like that. A&M's at 17. Florida is now a top 20 team, according to the model. Florida is 6-5. USC is 19th. They're 6-5. And yet, in terms of neutral field favorability, just power rating stuff, they're both top 20 teams. You know as well as I do, when we release this graphic on social, everyone will zoom in on Florida and USC. And the thing about it is they've been zooming in on Florida for 2 weeks, laughing at the fact we had them top 25. And then Florida has beaten LSU and Ole Miss consecutively. No one's come back to say they apologize. Like Florida, I don't know if anyone's been noticing this. Jesse and Colin, have you heard anyone apologize? Florida's done nothing but validate their existence in the top 25 of a power rating. And everyone just laughs at it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and no one says a peep on Saturday night. Shocker. Let's see what else we got here. Arizona State's at 20. I want to go back to USC. USC, there is a wild stat that we uncovered today when we were doing show prep. Let's see if I remember it off the top of my head. So there are, what is it, Jesse? 6 teams total, right, that have led in the fourth quarter of every game they've played this year. So out of all of FBS, there are 6 teams that have led in the fourth quarter of every game they've played. USC is one of those 6 teams. USC has 5 losses. The other 5 combined have 5 losses. That is meant to tell you nothing more than USC is, on paper, a lot better than just your garden variety 5-loss team. They are a 5-loss team. That's what should matter. And in the rankings, it does. In power ratings, it does not. In power ratings, it just means you got an extremely underrated team as it relates to a predictive, like future-facing model. Louisville's at 21. Kansas is at 22. We had Kansas in the top 27 last week, I think it was. And now we got them in the number 22 spot. Michigan's crept their way back in there. Interesting. Iowa has been floating in this range all year. And Baylor is unchanged. Baylor's at number 25. I think that's one of the low-key stories of the year, too. You notice how all the stories of the year are happening in the Big 12? Like, so many of the stories of the year, we had Brigham Young, we had Arizona State, Colorado. Now Baylor just has gone from who's going to take Dave Aranda's spot to no one, because Dave Aranda is going to be the head coach here. What a time to be alive in the Big 12. And almost everyone is. So there's the JP poll. Have fun with it.